even count Donovan Mitchell, who took 25. Like Tatum wasn't even the most shots in the game. It's unrealistic.
Well, if you expect a certain player,
all his threes.
Yeah, if you expect Tatum to be a good 3-point shooter, then you're sadly mistaken in the playoffs.
Nah, it's just Boston. It pissed me off. Winning by 30, losing by 30, just being Boston.
Oh
I
no!
kind of hope they do this and look like themselves, and then this unbelievable Minnesota team blows them out in 5 games.
If we don't have Kristaps, Minnesota could. They're not big enough to deal with Minnesota. Someone else has to take out Minnesota for Boston.
It's true. Got to start the show with relevant NBA playoffs. Sorry.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Because it was so exciting in the moment, I wanted just to do the cold open.
Yeah.
But Evan, I have to know, now that you heard probably the most NBA coverage you've heard all week, does this make you more likely to return to NBA during the playoffs or less likely?
Less likely. Well, I mean, neither more nor less. I mean, right now, my stance on the NBA is firm. I think it's the quality of play based on the rules and the standards are the worst that it's ever been. And my mind will not be changed until the league starts to see change.
The foul baiting's been fixed. There's nobody foul baiting anymore.
I would say that there's more parity than ever before.
Also, you do have, I think the best part about the NBA right now is you have one team winning the new way in Boston where they're just a crazy amount of threes. You can't even imagine it. And then you have Minnesota who's running 2 bigs, 2 7-footers, and they're dominating that way.
It's kind of
amazing. And again, this last game, they didn't have Gobert, and they dominated even more than game 1.
Well, I was going to say, it's kind of amazing how the three of us love basketball, but we probably covered basketball the least of anything we...
That's probably my favorite sport to watch.
It does kind of speak to, though, that sometimes things just have to be for you. And as much as I love basketball, we just couldn't... It didn't fit in with the schedule. We tried to do a basketball league. It didn't work. The UFL was just perfect because I knew that it was a right market. Not only was it our anniversary show, being our first podcast, was about it. So it just holds that nostalgic factor for me. But because everyone's looking for UFL content, I knew if we were consistent, we were going to see numbers, and we have. So thanks to everyone for that. We've seen a spike in subscribers recently, in views. Everything's up. And more importantly, I've said it, we are basically going to make our money or the profit along with you live on air, but with the lineups and with the construction and those kind of things. Anything else we make off of sponsorships and advertisements and, all that stuff's going to come maybe later, but that's all a bonus. Whatever we make now, we're just transparently giving you an inside look of how 4 smart people build lineups with different backgrounds. That's kind of the idea I wanted to give with this podcast, and I'd say it's success. And what's really cool about that is sometimes it's our personal lineup, sometimes it's a one-off. Like last week, I had that 36 points from Butler, and it wasn't a guy we talked about, but the idea of that was there. And then we talked about that as we were building this week. We kind of saw exactly that in our lineup this time with Martinez. So I was pretty proud of that.
Yeah. And we had a random guy steal a lot of points at the, one of the tight ends. I forget his name. He was 2,500. No one expected him to do much, and he stole at least 8. I stopped keeping track on that one, though.
That's kind of what, Gov was talking a lot about it in the beginning of the review show last week, running a naked Martinez. When you have a scrambler, the legs become his safety, and then you can run him naked.
If we look at other lineups, you can see the ownership. I wish I had it to pull up exactly, but you see Martinez came in super chalky. Everyone wanted to play him.
Yeah,
he only had one target, one pass catcher that came in kind of chalky with him. Everyone was willing to play him,
and those weren't even the pass catchers that were leading.
Right. Us hitting on his 1% owned pass catcher that was actually the good one to hit on, that put us above everyone right there. If we honestly, I think we ship if we just have Butler over Kirkland.
Yeah, and the one thing about about Williams is there was days we backed up, and people were willing to look at the data. We went over it a bit. The play made sense if you just kept track of what was happening in the games.
Mm-hmm.
I think we decided that Williams was the cheap guy to stick in the lineup, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the difference maker was the 1% though, the ownership. That was the difference maker.
Yeah,
Well, and he wasn't even the cheap,
When
the
the
cheap
cards
guy
goes
from
over
that
and
game.
he's only 1%, and then he goes off like that, I knew the lineup was set.
He wasn't even the cheap guy that game. That's the thing that's crazy.
yes, I was surprised that Smith was cheaper and drafted and played more.
Yeah.
Well, Williams was coming off a knee injury, but he was expected to play well this season. He just hadn't lived up to it because of I think it was ACL, but don't quote me. He got it like late before the season started.
Would we have been happy if he didn't fall into the end zone and just had 9-some fantasy points from 4 catches?
I think so. I think it was a
Like
lot
if he just had the 4 for 50, yeah, I mean, because Martinez did a lot of his damage, like if you'd say that, then yeah, okay, Martinez doesn't have 2 of his touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah. So
yeah,
the thing about Martinez is how much do we continue to play, and how much does his price go up until we
I
say
mean,
no?
he had a full-on passing game, 360 for 4.
This isn't even what he's supposed to do. I don't know.
Yeah. I would have expected 75 yards rushing and 2 of those passing.
He's the first quarterback to throw for 4 touchdowns in this league,
and he got 3 2-point conversion passes.
he was just on fire.
I watched him a lot in college because he played in the Big Ten in Nebraska, but he was also a transfer in college too. So he's always been boom or bust. I would not be surprised if he goes out and has 5 points next week.
Yeah, I don't think it if you put him at 12K, I don't think it makes sense to play him again.
I saw some of the
it
Birmingham.
Also depends on the matchup.
Yeah, and I saw some of
St. Louis.
I saw some of the Birmingham and Memphis game, and this looked like a case of game script to me because Birmingham has been pretty strong on the ground all season for the first half. Do we think this changes for the second half?
Well, I will say this about this offense, at least going into next week. St. Louis has been in a lot of shootouts. Yeah. That might be a very high-scoring game. It's going to have a lot of ownership. It's going to be interesting between Martinez and McCarron, who's the top owned.
I would say, especially in a league like this, where the margins for victory, like Gov was speaking, if we don't go quick on it, we go a very similar price range, we probably ship. That's how tight the edges are in a tight knit contest where the prize pool is a lot smaller.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also that I don't know. I kind of find that sometimes in the NFL you can ride the hot hand longer because the ownership's going to be there. In a league, when you have a niche sport, it's almost more important. Like we were talking about, is when you jump off and when you get on. I think it's almost heightened because the contest is so restricted.
Yeah, we jumped on the perfect week, and this might not be the week to jump off because it's going to be a high-scoring game most likely, but it's tough.
Well, there is something to be said for that because there's the basically what I would consider the 2-point conversions basically in the UFL, where if you do have a back and forth offensive game, you're going to get those 2-point conversions for your quarterback and your receivers as well. You don't see as many kicks, and then obviously if you're talking about points, you're not seeing as many kickoffs. That's very important.
I mean, just based off the 2-point conversions, what is that? 6 points for Martinez?
Yeah. So
I mean, that's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, don't quote me, I'm not a mathematics genius here, but the first 3 weeks of this UFL season, we did not see one 80-yard touchdown. In the last 2 weeks, we've seen 3.
Yeah.
So does that go to Evan's point a couple weeks ago where he said once these players get familiar with each other, once coaches start to get more familiar with their offenses and quarterbacks and offensive coordinators can get on the same page, we're going to see more explosion because we got to, you mentioned it before, Evan, it was kind of the preseason. They were kind of feeling each other out.
This wasn't our lineup, was it?
It was.
Oh, I don't remember playing San Antonio's defense. I thought we played. I don't know though.
No,
we went all in on the San Antonio.
That's
Yep.
right. That's right.
We
I'm
paired the
confused
running
about
back in
those,
the
yeah.
defense, and then we played Kirkland and Smith. And to be honest, like the only upside of this lineup would have been to go down from Kirkland to Butler and play a different stud receiver.
Yeah. What's
and then
crazy
use
is
that $1,000 to get off of our min price Smith, who we plugged in just to not take a zero.
DC for the first time has lived up to their name and completely shut down a pretty decent offense in San Antonio. I mean,
Yeah, that was a big upset to me. And I mean, DC, they're not terrible. I mean, their record indicates that they're just okay this year. But San Antonio, they're not perfect, but they're still a damn good team.
I really like. None of people talk about it, but Wade Phillips lets Smith run the offense for San Antonio. I believe his name is AJ Smith. He's the offensive coordinator for the Brahmas. He pretty much runs that whole offense, I feel like, and then Wade does mostly defense. I just feel like he could get a high level college job or like low level NFL job. I feel like he has a future in the league as a professional coach. They throw the most too. Like they have an identity, and that's what I like about them. I think they're the only team this year that averaged 30 pass attempts of any team. Like they're the most consistent and pass friendly.
yeah.
It's sad because if the Stallions had like a workhorse like run game, I would play the running back every week. But you never know if it's Marable, if it's who's that Elvin Kamara like.
I don't know. Or it could be Martinez. I mean,
Ricky-
it really.
Ricky Person.
Yeah, Ricky Pearson.
Yeah, Ricky Person.
Okay, yeah. I mean, there's three guys who could just completely control the run game in that offense. It's the complete opposite of like the St. Louis problem. St. Louis is all passing, and you don't know who to play. Well, it also got a decent run game, and then you got Birmingham where they can hit you really anywhere.
Yeah, and Birmingham has the least points allowed so far this season.
Yeah, this is the first explosion game we've really seen for Birmingham's offense. I mean, to completely
really because they haven't needed to. Like they've been able to run and control.
Yeah.
And then the first game, Martinez isn't used as a run option. He just like, as a guy in our Discord said, he's like, well, this is who had a Josh Allen game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were going to give people advice, though, like say they had only watched the UFL for like 3 weeks, they just picked either the first 3 weeks to watch or this last 3 weeks. What do you think is like the guaranteed trends or like the things that we know we can count on versus the things that are like a flash in the pan? Could we expect Martinez to kind of continue this, or does this level off? Is AJ McCarron for sure like a guaranteed 20 points? Like anything we should watch out for in terms of like things that we're getting too comfortable with?
The only thing I'd say is no matter who's at quarterback between the two for Birmingham, they're going to stay good. Like I wouldn't be scared of any play if it's on Birmingham with a quarterback change. That would not be my reason.
I see what you're saying. So are they your favorite then to win the whole thing?
I don't see anyone who's capable of beating them right now.
Oh, wow.
I would agree with that. Like they look like the clear number one team.
Unless it comes down to Martinez has a bad game, but then you just pull him for Corral. And I don't know.
Maybe. Like if you can you do that mid game against like a Wade Phillips team when San Antonio's offense is clicking? Like you might not be able to. Like that. Like I don't think they're infallible, but they're clearly the number one team right now. Yep. I would like.
They're two-time defending champs for a reason. That's for sure.
I don't even see the Battlehawks beating them next week.
I don't either. I mean, I just don't see if Birmingham has this much potential to score. Now, all they need to do to beat the Battlehawks is control the game. If they can play their way, I don't think St. Louis is going to be able to beat them.
I think the Battlehawks are the best team in the league. I think they were injured, so they haven't shown their best version of themselves yet. But I think come the playoffs, when the games matter the most, I think they have the highest potential to get to. But to your point, the Stallions are, they are dominant right now. There's nothing we could say. I would just be picking at them for the sake of it. To kind of create that hot take mentality. It would be foolish.
Yeah, I do get what you mean. It's between the two. It's not, and we're going to see that matchup for the first time, I think, coming up this Saturday. Yeah, I don't know.
Again, though, I think San Antonio has the best coaching example. Like Wade Phillips and Smith have done a really good job with the Brahmas. Remember, they overcame a quarterback team, and they have a lot of talent as well. It's just, I think it's between those three teams. But this is the first week I got to admit where I don't feel like I got to defend this league anymore. I kind of hinted at it a couple weeks ago, saying like, I hope you guys are on board, but if you're not, it's going to kind of be what it is.
I think it's only going to go up from here.
Yeah.
But this is what you're going to get for this first season. It's going to take 3 or 4 seasons to really get people to convince to play and whatnot. But this is the product right now.
Yeah. It's like I keep saying, there are only 8 teams, so it's hard to draw a bigger audience when the amount of teams that compete in this league are not plentiful. Not yet, at least.
A lot of people only watch when they have a team near each other. Or at least only root for teams like that. So
that happens, yeah. I mean, their loyalty in sport is a real thing. But I would say, like, people will say, well, it's a acquired taste or it's a preference. At some point, you got to realize, oh, this just isn't my favorite food. I just don't like it this way. Sometimes that's preparation. Sometimes that's just like, it's not your thing.
Yeah, and some people just need a break from football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is that. You could just Man, I like the NFL, but I need my off season.
I'm actually glad you brought that up. I don't know, maybe there's no correlation and I just want there to be, so I made it up in my head. But I really do feel like playing the UFL as serious as we did. We took it very serious like we are this year. I feel like it actually helped my NFL game. It helped my preseason knowledge. It kind of it just made everything seem so fluid to me. It was like, oh, you're not going to take an off season. So my brain was always ready to go with DFL.
It does help for the preseason a lot.
Speaking of, did anybody expect Arlington to beat Michigan over the weekend? Man, Arlington blew it.
I did not get to see that game.
I bet Michigan to win it before the game started. And the reason why was for something I brought up on the podcast. It kind of was a throwaway. But when I knew they weren't going to go away from Luis Perez and Bob Stoops was like, we're sticking with Luis and going to give him another chance, you're winless. He hasn't looked good. It'd be one thing if he was putting up 300 yards passing and they were losing terrible shootout games. But he hasn't looked good. And you're going to still stick with him for what? There's no legacy. There's no loyalty in that. I didn't get it. I'm like, no, I can't back that mentality. For me, it's all about an identity and a mentality, not so much wins and losses. And I don't feel like Arlington has a purpose in this league this year.
Well, I mean, Arlington's offense did not play bad in this last game, and they even got a great 14-yard rush out of J.P. Payton, which I think caught Michigan by surprise. But they just couldn't hold on at the end. I mean, Arlington scoring nothing in the third quarter definitely hurt.
And I'll be honest, I thought we were going to get more targets from him. Obviously, being in our lineup, we're glad to take any Payton points we can get. We were kind of playing him as the number one. And guess what? Your number one slot guy is going to get end arounds and stuff like that. You want him to be involved. But even I didn't see trick plays coming.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about this league so far is honestly, outside of just having football to watch, the unique scores that we're getting, we'll never see an 18-12 NFL game. And I think it just adds a certain character to the league.
39-21, yeah. 20.
Now,
we're gonna see
I know Logan
27-28,
yeah.
But
I don't. I know Logan doesn't care, but the whole scoregami thing is interesting. And the NFL doesn't get it much. This will happen a lot in the league.
You know what I really have a problem with when it comes to these kinds of conspiracies, though? And
it's not even a conspiracy.
Yeah, it's not a conspiracy.
It's just some dude's math chart that he made.
Yeah, it's a math chart.
Okay, if you plot the numbers both ways,
sure.
then okay, what do you get? There's and how many times have that score happened?
No,
And
you're
it
right.
just so happens you plot that, and there's like a couple that have never happened, which you make sense why a 2-4 game would never happen.
Actually, I think 2-4 has hit before.
Shut up. I know. I'm just trying to make an example that
Yeah.
people would understand. Quit being that guy.
I guess you're right. I did lump in conspiracies with the whole novelty and the whole like the weird idiosyncrasies of leagues and just like the weird factoids.
Yeah.
It's all kind of the same thing to me, though.
It's a neat fact. That's what it is.
Yeah. Well, as long as someone wants to package it as like the good and the bad, I'm okay with it. Like I'll even listen to funny conspiracies. What drives me nuts is like when people say, for example, well, let's just say they wanted LeBron James in the finals, so they don't want him to get swept by Denver. So that's the reason, that Los Angeles is going to go to a game 6 or a game 7. But then when Denver just pours it on the Lakers and they're bouncing 5 games, then you don't hear those people with that conspiracy anymore. So like people always quick to point out conspiracies or these kind of fun facts when it goes along with their narrative. When it goes against them, you don't hear anything.
Oh, see, I just like the little. I think it's the math chart that does it for me. It's so fun.
I get that. Like that's the thing is I love analytics, for example, but I do think you can go too far with the analytics podcast, and I love a lot of it.
I will say the one thing about Scoregami that I do hate is a YouTuber made that video. I forget what the YouTuber's name was, and then the NFL took the word Scoregami, and then they acted like it was their own thing. And that's not cool.
He was a journalist. Like a full disclosure, Secret Base. I love the YouTube channel. Like yes, like the first time I ever heard Scoregami was from them.
And he's the one who made it.
Yes. John Boyce, I believe it was. Like they have a video that explains it and how intricate it is in the Scoregami stuff. Okay, like it is interesting if you like that shit. Which I do.
I feel like we plug it every week talking about things we like, but you did see John was on Pablo Torre's Pablo Finds Out podcast.
Yes.
Such a great show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, great sports analysis mixed with just the right amount of kind of fun and entertainment. That kind of stuff I like. So
a lot of stuff from Meadowlark is really good.
Yeah, it really is. Speaking of fringe things that can be good, is there anything else, Evan, that we can take from this lineup that's good, bad, or indifferent that you think we can really build on for next week?
Well, I think we were unfortunate in the fact that we got burned by just Jontre Kirkland just not getting as much volume as we had hoped. And
a loss too. That's what's weird.
No, I mean it happened to be an upset loss for the Brahmas, and it was just one of those things that it just happens because Kirkland's usage less than 20% is a little surprising considering that he's been a very reliable wide receiver for most weeks as it is.
If that happened and the final score was 25-12 and San Antonio wins, I'm fine with it.
As long as Kirkland gets to 10.
No, I don't even care about that. Like the script makes sense if Kirkland has a bad game and they blew out DC. They needed Kirkland to play.
Well, it just depends on the circumstances, like you said.
It just didn't happen.
Yeah, but ultimately, I don't think playing Kirkland was wrong. It just didn't work out for the price. It happens. You take these chances. I thought there was going to be some safety blanket with a Jontre Kirkland. Even if San Antonio didn't win, I was expecting a minimum of 10 points. And, I just have to accept the fact that I was wrong. So it happened.
Well, me and Evan were in this podcast before, full disclosure, as you got here. We were talking about how what I really enjoy about the UFL right now is like we're not making huge profits, but either my personal lineup or our lineup is covering our differences so we can experiment. So like that just shows you that we're not doing the wrong things, even though we haven't turned this amazing profit. I mean, I did win first place just a couple weeks ago. It's so quick how we forget those.
Well, I just want to say this as well about Kirkland. I think it's almost better that he had a bad game and we still make out of it because now his ownership might drop.
He should be sub 20% next week too.
Yeah,
like that's true.
Well, that's kind of the point
So,
I was
like, if
getting
he's
at.
still way more expensive than like Butler, like it's still going to be a rough choice.
Yeah.
Like, which expensive receiver do we play?
So he can still now. He's like, if he gives you some ownership and he's only 15% next week because his price stays the same or whatever,
Yeah,
that
if
could
he's
be
still-
that
if he's
could be
still,
the
like-
reason.
Yeah, if he's
we
10-3,
win next
but we
week.
think he's going to be now 15%. Like that's
That's the reason we
doable.
win next week, maybe. So,
especially if Butler's over 10K.
yep.
So here are the numbers right now. Jontre Kirkland is 10-5. Akeem Butler is 10-2.
I'm so happy about
okay,
that.
so like if Kirkland's going to come in lower owned, that's basically the same play. Like, who do you actually think is?
And
They're
then maybe-
and to be honest, in this league, they're both kind of a coin flip. Who's going to go off? So I'd rather just go with the lower owned guy anyway.
Gov, is there a scenario where you play both of them and you see what else would fit?
Yeah, like if I'm stacking one of their games, I could one off the other one.
'Cause I was just wondering.
Well, That's
I-
half your salary. I mean,
Yeah, but the reason I asked Gov and not you guys is this fact. I think Gov will appreciate this. It's happening a lot in golf right now. Where in golf, it's either the top heavy guys are winning all the contests, or it's like the amateurs, the young guys. And so we're seeing a very big spike in stars and scrubs in golf. And so I was just curious because they talk a lot about that in recent weeks because it's been happening. It's like, it's almost how do you find pairs that most people don't have? It's not just a one-off ownership of like, oh, I got to get a quarterback that's under 10%. It's like, how do I get a wide receiver and another star player that I know is good? How do I get them at, sub 2%?
yeah. Speaking of stars and young guys winning, how about F1 this weekend? Max Verstappen loses. Very rare for that.
Max
to happen.
Ver was stopped in. Sorry.
I mean, I know we don't talk about it much, and I don't know much about it at least. But I know a lot of us don't in here.
I am not.
That's a shocker. I mean, and there was a free contest for it too.
Yeah, there was. But see, that's
And
why
I faded him and still lost.
You faded Verstappen?
Yeah, I always do. I go with the
Oh,
team.
but you still also lost.
I
to
go
Yuga
with the
and you didn't play
team
Red
and
Bull.
Perez every time. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I do every time, and the strategy usually works.
But that is a good point, though, when you talk about dominance, because like we don't even got to be big F1 fans, and sometimes dominance just shows through. Like in the '90s, you didn't have to be the biggest golf fan to be a fan of what Tiger Woods was doing, and so sometimes things just show through. I talking about like where talent's just gonna show through. I do think that Kirkland Butler lineup could work, just because you're playing the upside of these two guys are. And that lineup like that, I guess you're saying these are the only two that are going to score 30. They're so much far ahead of their peers in terms of their on-field talent that I'm just going to gem them in.
Well, yeah, and you have two that score 30. You're halfway to cash.
I should also mention that last week against the Defenders, Jontre Kirkland had 8 targets, only caught 3 of them. That's how brutal that showing was for a guy like him. So even against a good secondary like Houston, I would say that you could still play him if you want to spend up at wide receiver.
And my only thing there is you're playing Houston. Are you going to need to score?
Well, yes, that's how you win games.
Yeah, but I mean, are you going to need to score 30 points and have 4 passing touchdowns? Probably not.
That's a better question. Yeah,
That's
of course
true.
not.
That's true.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Because Houston, they're not Arlington bad, but I would say their only redeeming factor so far is their secondary. They did a good job last week against who the hell did they play last week? I have to double check here. The fucking Battlehawks. They made it a game for the Battlehawks, even though they didn't come out on top.
And the Battlehawks, who are known for passing as well.
Yeah, and they held them to 22.
And I thought they were already past. They didn't score much in the second half there. That was not a high-scoring second half for the Battlehawks.
Mm-mm. No, Houston's defense showed up to play. It's just a shame their offense sucks.
Gov, I think we see it sometimes to Evan's point in the NFL where it's like everyone wants to play these marquee, teams. Like they know Kansas City Chiefs and the Patriots will be on CBS, or Fox will have Green Bay and Dallas on Fox, right? And so the NFL is banking on the gamblers to watch, Jacksonville Texans. I mean, it might be a bit different now that CJ's there, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like these. So I feel like that kind of mindset translates very well to a league like this, where it's like it's such a week to week thing, but you can't always just plug and play the guys who did good the week prior or the guys that you're familiar with.
Which is what most people are doing right now in this league.
I mean, there are trends you can pick up on.
Yeah.
But, like, I agree. Like, you don't want to just, like, with anything, I wouldn't want to just blindly. Like, in NFL, I wouldn't just blindly play the same dude every week to week.
Yeah.
For reference, I definitely didn't want to play Christian McCaffrey every single week.
I don't blame you.
No, but McCaffrey's such a special circumstance.
There are special circumstances, but
That's what I'm asking,
in general, like, I'm not trying to just play the dude who just had a big game.
I'm sure there are.
Now he's going to have a big game every week.
What, McCaffrey was about probably 25% owned every week around there. I'm sure 10% at least was the same.
There
guy
were a few times he was sub 20. Definitely,
okay.
He was expensive.
Yeah, but I'm sure 10%
but he still always put up 20 to 30 points a game. So it's like, yeah,
the price tag kept scaring a lot of people, which is why it wasn't higher.
Exactly.
That's what I was talking about.
Had it been higher, he'd gone. Like, there were years in Carolina where his ownership kept being 20-25% doing that, and they just pushed it to like 12K. It was great. Yeah. It was insane.
And that's where the NFL is very, very thankful for gamblers, because they're like, hey, if we put these two bad teams on Thursday night, but there's a good showdown prize in a contest, people are going to, they're going to play because it's the only itch they can scratch on a Thursday night. Like,
yeah, no one loves a game more of Raiders, Steelers than gamblers,
But there is like that kind of itch that so that's what I'm trying to figure out is like, how much of this week do we carry over? How much trend do you carry over versus how much do we got to like try to deep dive and find the next Durant?
I'm very scared of Martinez next week. Honestly, I just against.
If he's coming in as the highest owned quarterback again, I agree.
I mean, think about it. It's going to be him at least 25%. And then McCarron 25%. That's 50%.
They might both be 30.
Even. Yeah, they legitimately, we might have 60% of the quarterback play be from the same game.
If you want to play quarterback, I would definitely pick McCarron over Martinez to spend up, if you wanted to spend up at it. I mean,
well, when Chase Garbers was there with AJ McCarron week 1, I believe both of them were 42% owned.
And that was like without the explosion of a 42-point game by a quarterback. And Martinez having 40 is crazy.
Well, that's a bit different because in week 1, the people are playing they're playing the known commodity, right?
Right.
So that's what I'm saying is now we're at the point where it's like people are going to play the box score kind of commodity where it's like, well, this guy's consistently 20 points, so I'm just going to plug it in. How much of that do we follow, and then how much of that do we try to outsmart? Because we got to try to find a balance. So like,
you got to outsmart somewhere. In this league, I don't know if quarterback's the spot to outsmart. Yeah. This week, it might be, though. Like, I really think we're going to get at least 50% of the ownership from just one game.
It might be. Like, it's entirely possible.
And it might be more than that. Like, it could shoot up to 70%.
I don't know if you're familiar, and I ask you on purpose, Evan, because I know you won't be biased, but there's a big fantasy guy. His name is Evan, what's his name? ETR. His name is escaping me now.
Evan Silva?
Yeah, Evan Silva.
No, not Evan Silva. Adam Levitan. I don't know why that name was escaping me. Yeah. But his big theory basically is like when there's a lot of chalk or when there's like a guaranteed play but you expect him to do well, you still play that guy and you let everyone else kind of make mistakes around you. Mm-hmm. You let everyone else make mistakes because they feel like this guy's guaranteed, so then I have to do this. And then like you let the other puzzle piece be their mistake.
Well, my thing would be if I'm playing that game, I'll just play some of the weapons in that game and then completely get away from it.
Logan, what was the point you wanted me to comment on?
So the point was like Donnie's against playing Martinez. Do you think there's a way that we could play Martinez if he's 40? Like, because Guff said he would go based on ownership, right? Like, if he's over 40, it's a no for him. Donnie says basically no, regardless, just because.
Well, no, there is a world, but it's going to be a tough sell with everything else that would need to fit in with it.
But
I think I know where you're going with this, Logan, and I would say that for the price tag that is attached to both Martinez and Corral, I would steer clear of both of them just because we've seen Birmingham succeed on the ground a lot better than in the air. And because of that, I do not want to spend that much on quarterback if we're not going to get consistent passing out of Birmingham. I would much rather spend down on take a chance on a Dormady, take a chance on a Perez. Like, if I'm going to spend up a quarterback, it's going to be McCarron, and that's not going to change until proven otherwise.
Well, I mean, I feel like this week kind of proved it, but...
Well, I mean, McCarron still played pretty well considering the interception he threw against Houston, but...
The only thing that screws me about McCarron is his lack of running ability. He's obviously...
I don't care about that.
That's not
throw so much, I don't care.
Yeah, because McCarron doesn't have to use his legs in order to be effective for fantasy points. There are still plenty of quarterbacks
needs to be a
left,
high offensive game, and like it totally is going to be.
Yeah,
I have no reason to think not.
That's like being scared of playing Drew Brees back in his not his prime, but maybe when he was throwing 5,000 yards consistently.
I mean, yes, but that's let's try not to use analogies that make you feel weird. Calling AJ McCarron Drew Brees.
Well, in this league, he basically is.
I did. Again, let's tone it down. But
also in the NFL today, like a lot of people like to dog on Dak Prescott because he doesn't have a lot of rushing upside either. But when you got guys like CeeDee Lamb and whoever the fuck you can plug in to the Cowboys offense, like he's still worth a shot.
Literally what the Cowboys are doing this year. It's CeeDee Lamb and whoever the fuck they can plug in. Like
and Ezekiel Elliott taking 40% of the snap.
And Brandon Cooks. They let go of Michael Gallup. And
Gallup went to the Raiders, didn't he?
Schoonmaker. No, wait. Yeah. Hendershot.
Yeah.
Ferguson. Ferg.
Ferg Dog. Yeah, Ferg Dog Night. Yeah.
Turpin. Turpin might be a good one this year.
See, that's what they need. They need another Turpin. They need to go and grab them like a Butler or a Kirkland to add to CeeDee Lamb.
No, Turpin is an interesting one because they do believe in him, and that is the kick returner, right? If I'm not mistaken, gadget guy now. And he's proved to be a gadget guy. I wonder if he's actually going to get field time.
I think the Cowboys are now up to like 4 gadget guys on their team.
It's CeeDee Lamb and a bunch of gadgets. Go gadget Prescott. Yeah.
Because now they have Deuce Vaughn in their backfield, who's another gadget guy.
Go gadget Prescott.
Listen, they know what Dak Prescott needs, and it's not really deep threats.
Nope, it's Zeke and a bunch of shit.
Last question, since we did bring in more of the NFL, I think this is a good transition. Because we're going to start to see training camps ramp up, preseason, talk ramp up, coaches really taking a more serious asserted effort in the NFL. Do you think it's going to play a positive or a negative effect, or if at all, with UFL? Because The Rock has openly said it's not a developmental league, but he's very public-facing about his fact that he wants people to go to the NFL if they have the chance. So, do you think we see people trying to put on almost a show on the field, trying harder? Do you think people say, you know what, I don't care about the UFL?
I think everyone's given their all already.
Yeah, because everybody wants to make the maximum amount of money they can playing football, so everybody's going to want to make an NFL roster. So the UFL is not going to be a developmental league officially for the NFL, but it's yet another stepping stone to prove that, yes, we can play at the professional level. Right. Look at this highlight reel.
Shout out to Double J. I see him on the leaderboard right there at 188, right above our lineup.
Yeah, he plays every week too. A great guy. By the way, he was trying to chase me down a couple weeks ago. He saw you on top of the league. We're making waves. It's just right now the contests are smaller. But I do think, just like these players are priming up for the NFL, I do think all of this is going to help us for the NFL. We're already going to
we'll be sharp for it, definitely.
Maybe that's just what I want because I'm a fan of football. But I do think there is some carryover.
All right.
Yeah. Also, I have one more thing when we were talking about offseason and stuff. For the first time since before the Belichick era,
Mhm.
Patriots minicamp and stuff is open to media. They were the last holdouts.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they've opened everything up in case you didn't notice. Did you not happen to see what happened on Sunday?
What do you mean?
The Netflix
Oh,
live
I
roast
loved
of
the
Tom
roast.
Brady. Did
I
you love the roast?
I loved it. It was
I thought it was absolutely hilarious, except
was
for Belichick, who was like Belichick was surprisingly bad, but
I
like
thought he was.
and
I
it
thought his
wasn't even
jokes
funny
fit.
bad. It was just bad. But like it also makes sense that Belichick was bad because it's Belichick. like-
I
But
thought
otherwise,
Belichick
no,
was
I
fine.
thought it was great.
There was one I hated. I think her name was Nikki. I thought she was just so unfunny.
I mean, Nikki's in everything. Like you have to
Yeah,
kind of like
I
her
thought
humor. She has a certain type of humor, but like
yeah,
it's her and Jeff Ross. Like you had to get the two of them out of the way because they do every roast.
Maybe I'm
Then
a
it was a
comedian.
bunch of their new Netflix guys and a bunch of Patriots. Like
Yeah,
I thought Randy Moss was the best. of
Randy
the
Moss.
Patriots.
I was very disappointed in.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't think.
I thought he was better. Like than like okay, I say that, but Gronk was horrible. But it was also Gronk, and he may have been on cocaine, as per
I
said
didn't see.
by-
I disagree. I don't think Gronk was that bad.
I think no, like it was good bad.
No,
Like
he's
that's
not
the
human.
thing. That's the thing. Like Belichick was bad, but Gronk was good bad. Like he was just like, oh, you're clearly drunk and on coke because you partied all day for this, and we're an hour in. To an hour. Well, no, he didn't go up on there until like an hour and a half in. So not he'd been up.
I don't want to spoil
on that
too
stage
much.
for an hour. It was great. Like I loved all the comedians. There were a few like really good jokes that I love. Like Andrew Schultz had a great one on Dana White talking his stuff.
I could not believe when Gronk spiked a shot glass.
I completely believe Gronk would spike.
I believe he would, but it just shocked me. I did not expect it. It came out of nowhere.
I don't think anyone did. They I think that like everyone was like Kevin Hart was like, "Don't worry, Gronk, we'll clean it up." I know. Yeah. Don't worry.
I
Because you
was
saw he grabbed the wrong prop when he was trying to grab the shot glasses.
It's true, he did. That was humorous.
That's what I'm like. Okay, so he's already drunk and something because he can barely read the teleprompter and he's grabbing the wrong shit. It's Gronk.
And the thing is, I know he can read.
I don't-
Exactly.
Guy.
That's why
He's such a
that's the
smart
thing.
guy.
You know he's drunk and in something. Like he's drunk and coked out and at the end of the party. Like that's I've seen that dude. That's Gronk right there.
See, I don't think Evan saw any of this, but here's why I
thought
love
Robert Kraft was funny too. Like I'm glad they all took the punches.
Yeah. There was only one
Although
joke
there
that
was-
Brady really didn't like, and
Well,
it was about the massage parlor thing.
Well, and Jeff Ross did it early, and like I guess there was probably a like it seemed to me like there was an agreement. Don't talk about the massage stuff with Robert Kraft. You could say anything you want about Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah, listen.
And that was basically the theme of the night when everyone's roasting the Patriots.
Okay, but here's the reason I loved it, in all honesty. Because I love when humor is mixed with truth, because you really find out. It's almost like watching. This will sound weird, but stick with me for a minute. It's almost like watching a really hilarious documentary to me. Because when you got enough people telling loose, unfiltered jokes, you get a lot of truth in there. Like that. There was a moment in that show, for example, where Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick took a shot together, and they had to do it like a cheers, and that was a very uncomfortable, like "I hate you" moment. And it didn't have to take a body language expert to tell you they both hate each other, and there's a lot of unresolved emotions there.
I don't think they hate each other. I really don't.
It's a business thing.
It's business. I know they both have like a mutual respect.
I
I
think
mean, to be fair, it looks like Belichick got to go out as good as any coach could. Like he left, like
I'm not gonna play it PC here. I think if Bill Belichick could kill one person on Earth and get away with it, Robert Kraft is on top of his list.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think there's much hate there. I think he hate. No, I know this. they hate Jonathan Kraft. He
Yeah.
hates, and honestly, I don't like Jonathan Kraft either. Jonathan Kraft's kind of a douchebag.
But
Notice how he wasn't there.
there's some point to that. But here's the thing: is Evan, I don't think you watched a ton of it, but what I'm trying to say is, if there's a serious conversation to be had, and you know it's just a bad, toxic environment, you're less likely to show up. But if you're sold that it's going to be this fun, funny night where everyone's having a good time, and then some serious stuff pops up, it's a lot easier to digest. And that's kind of what happened. It started off as this fun kind of thing, but there was a lot of truth in it. There was a lot of really funny but true statements about Aaron Hernandez, where I felt like a lot of players were blowing off steam, where they wanted to say things publicly at the time and they couldn't, and it was just uncomfortable, and they were they're glad to be done with that point in their life, and this is kind of a good version of that funeral. They could put that to bed. They're like, hey, we joked about it. We're on the same page as you. He was a terrible guy. We're moving on now. That's the beautiful thing I find about Rose. But if you haven't seen it, I do think it's worth watching.
It's worth the watch.
It is.
Honestly, if you
like,
don't have time,
I wasn't expecting 3 hours, but it's a good. It's like a football game. Then
see, my thing is, I thought if you can't watch it all, the first hour I would cut out. The first hour is the worst of it. But man, they really hit a home run there, and I had low expectations. I thought it was going to be terrible. I thought it was going to be over-filtered, and I didn't think I would enjoy it at all. But then Tom Brady makes a 9/11 joke, so, and they didn't care.
Evan, are you more likely to watch it or less likely? No, we'll come full circle, because I asked you that question about the NBA. We'll come full circle with the last topic.
I mean, I don't have Netflix anyway, so it's not something I can get easy access.
That's what I'm saying. You have to work for it. So because you have to work so hard,
7-day free trial.
He has a new email.
And pass.
You have no interest. Fair enough.
I don't like Tom Brady the way that other people do, so it's I don't have any any keen interest in it. If it's something that's convenient to watch, sure, but other than that, I don't know if it's going to be just a Netflix exclusive, but right. I don't have it, so I didn't see it.
Yeah, it will stay a Netflix exclusive.
There is one thing I wish I would have seen. And I have it in my head picture, exactly how I would have done it if I were planning it on stage. I would have liked to have seen Eli there.
That's what I had two guys I wanted.
I wanted him to come out in that looking like that shirtless pic where he was walking on the beach in a Hawaiian shirt, looking as stupid as fuck as possible. Both of his Super Bowl rings on, just standing there looking at Brady what's up, dog?
Ron Burgundy
right behind
Peyton
as Peyton's doing his thing. Like, that's what I wanted. I wanted Peyton to come out and be like, hold on, I need a little backup. And then just have Eli looking as stupid as fuck with his 2 Super Bowl rings standing there next to Brady as Peyton does his shit.
As a Patriots fan, I feel like we missed out on 2 people. Eli, which I think Eli just didn't have the time or declined the invite because Peyton was there, so I'm sure Eli was invited.
Oh, I wish both of them would have been.
The other guy I wanted.
Miss.
Ben Affleck was horrible. Worst person.
Oh, Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck.
Worst person all night.
Ben Affleck and Bill Belichick were the 2 worst.
It should have. Ben Affleck should have been replaced with Mark Wahlberg.
You couldn't get Mark Wahlberg.
Why?
Probably for the same reason, Brady made the joke they couldn't get Chappelle instead of Kevin Hart.
Look, Tony Hinchcliffe killed it.
Oh, he killed everyone.
Oh, Tony was on
his
fire.
joke about Bert was insane.
Yeah.
Oh, Bert looks like Tiger King and Liver King. Ate only Burger King, and his liver looks like Martin Luther King got beat up like Rodney King.
That's crazy.
Oh my god, it was insane. I didn't do
Tony killed. I didn't know who that guy was. I had no idea who he was. He was hilarious.
Okay. Tony Hinchcliffe is a hilarious guy. He is, and I will promote his stuff. Kill Tony on YouTube. Once a week.
Yeah,
He
I didn't know who
he has
was.
it's a podcast he does where he just he basically has Joe Rogan's comedy arena that he opened up in San Antonio or in Austin, and like once a week he has like an open mic. He'll pull names from a hat. You come up, you get a full minute or more, like a full solid like minute 10 seconds. Do your thing, and then they will critique you. Can you come up and be funny for a minute? Here is this person. Come on stage from backstage. You're ready because you came to do it. Do you come up and have at least 1 minute of material? And like he's had guys come up he's got regulars now. Like Cam Patterson's hilarious too. He's great comedian. And then he'll have guests like Joe Rogan will show up. He'll like one time Joe Rogan showed up and just had Tucker Carlson with him.
Yeah.
So now they're on stage critiquing the fucking comics. And you get to make fun of Tucker Carlson like it's a roast.
Speaking of 1 minute, let's get out of here in 1 minute. But like I say, I just love the transparency mixed with the humor. I think that's the best way to get honest portrayals of individuals. And I do think we saw athletes we saw them in a different arena than we usually do it, and that was refreshing. I don't even know if it was so much the content; it was just the idea of it.
I also felt like it was just the perfect time for it to come out. Like that feels like the complete end of everything the old Patriots.
Well, no,
it really closed the book.
Not only that, but like we haven't had a roast in a long time.
Yeah.
Like it used to be on Comedy Central. They haven't done it in any capacity to any like major person in a long time. So like Netflix having the comedians to do it, like I applaud them for doing one. They did it right by doing it as like one of their first live shows. So like if there were fuck ups, if Gronk was drunk and couldn't read the teleprompter, if Robert Kraft got pissed off or something and walked away, or Kim Kardashian or Dana White or any of the other fucking people in the audience, if any shit happened, if Drew Bledsoe decided to sock Tom Brady, I don't know.
I just really did feel like the complete closure of the book for Patriots fans.
I'll give Evan the last 30 seconds here. How much of this last 10 minutes did you listen to keenly, Evan?
No, I have been listening the whole time. It's just I didn't see the special, so it's not like I haven't.
You could find plenty of clips and highlights on YouTube.
No.
Well, yeah, I know how the internet works.
No shit, Sherlock.
I'm just saying. It wasn't all funny. I laughed a lot though.
I'm just happy that the Cubs just pulled off a walk-off home run to beat San Diego tonight. That feels good.
San Diego, fuck the Padres.
I think this is the most sports we ever talked about. We should end there. Good night, guys. We'll be back on Friday.
No, come on, Dodgers. Not why you led the Marlins. Wait, actually, I need that. Yamamoto sucks. I didn't play Yamamoto. Let's do this.
You'll be doing some traveling here soon, Evan. Are you going to be able to join us on Friday?
No, I will not. I will be out for the next week and a half or so. I'll be out on vacation. So you might miss me for a bit, but I will be back the week of the 19th.
If you find a pick before you leave, just leave it in Discord.
Yeah.
We will put him in the lineup.
I wasn't going to put you on the spot, but give us your favorite player of the week or something like that, and we'll bring it to the people on Friday. We got to have a little bit of Evan flavor.
And we'll put it in the right spot in the order because you're going to be number 69. So
yeah. 69
plug him in third. We plug him in third or whatever. It's fine.
Yeah. If I have some time while I'm on vacation, absolutely, I will find that moment to get a pick in, and then here you guys go. So you know how I do.
Appreciate you. If not, we got this. We always do.
You know the trend going around in YouTube with the young people now, Evan, right? You got to go on vacation and you got to film a YouTube short with your shirt off.
Well, I don't know if that's what people necessarily want to see.
You need to do a TikTok dance with whatever the country's #1 song is at the time.
Good night.
I mean, if the people really want to see me shirtless, I will do it. I mean, I don't know how much of the audience will be scared away from it, but I mean, there's no shame in my game.
What I'd be more worried about is the audience we